over the years, and particularly in the last 15, I'm going to say, there's been an anti-labor, almost a hatred by management for us. I don't know why. We're the guys that earn the freight.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Hugh Sawyer Jr. He is a locomotive engineer on Norfolk Southern Railroad, working primarily on the main line between Atlanta and Chattanooga. He's a member of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, Division 316, which is a Teamsters affiliate. He's a rank-and-file member right now as he winds down to retirement, but he has served the membership in the past as local chairman, president, and legislative representative. He's also a member of Railroad Workers United, an inter-union cross-craft solidarity caucus of railroad workers and their supporters from all crafts, all carriers, and all unions across North America. He's also our next guest. Hugh, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Jacob. Glad to be here.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you here. So last week, we spoke to Jonah Furman, staff writer and organizer at Labor Notes. I believe you're familiar with him, about the general rail situation. But this week, I wanted to talk to a rail worker to maybe give folks more of a personal understanding about what's going on the rails. So before we get to some of the issues that y'all have been having, Hugh, you told me that you've been working on the rails for 34 years now, and that it hasn't always been this bad. Is that right?
That is correct. Now, the rail crafts, the operating crafts, we've always been a 24/7 operation. And but we've had enough extra board people, generally speaking, to ensure that everybody can be off, not necessarily when they want to be off, but be off a reasonable amount of time, perhaps. And that they have been tightening the screws on us for the last several years. And during the pandemic, they used as an excuse to lay off, furlough more people who, to their surprise, did not come back when they were called back. So that's really left them in a lurch. And I have to say, as proof, there's a lot of people with 10, 15, even 20 years seniority who have been leaving the industry, abandoning their railroad retirement, and or going to Amtrak, perhaps, to keep it. But they're getting away from the freight rail industry. It's just driving everybody insane.
Switching careers 15 to 20 years in is very, very difficult. That doesn't seem like a normal thing to have to do, and that's not something that's been happening. Usually, or in the past, the rail has been a career that you keep till retirement, right?
That's exactly correct. And we had good living wages. Keep in mind, the wages that we make involve essentially sacrificing our family lifetime to a large extent. And that's why we were always highly paid in the past, but that's in the past. We haven't been highly paid in quite a while. At best, I think these last several agreements, we've just treaded water with inflation. And even this agreement does nothing but tread water with regard to inflation. And it's a heck of a decision to make that I've had enough. The pandemic set something off in people that made them realize there's a life other than work, and that the quality time with their family is, I think, become much more important to a lot of people. I don't know what it is about the pandemic, but it's woken workers up.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's such a good thing for people to realize that, dreaming of labor is maybe not is not everything that it's cracked up to be, and that maybe sponsoring your family your whole life, going to work every single day, maybe that's not the best way to live, and so I'm happy to see so many people standing up for themselves and fighting back. Could you talk to us a little bit more about what the situation was like when you started on the rails 34 years ago?
Well, I have to say that I started in 1989. I was a sixth member as a trainee, a switchman trainee. I was a sixth member of a crew. On one tiny butt head, we had an engineer, a fireman, a yard foreman, two helpers, and then myself.
Wow.
That's all gone. We're down to two men on a crew, and they're trying desperately to make it a one-man crew. And the UTU was able to stave that off this go around, at least right away. But it's still going to be a fight, property by property.
No doubt.
So
no
anyway,
doubt. What about that? That is, I mean, even just that is a huge difference. 6-person crews down to now we're at 2-man crews, and the things that you are being the crews of are now significantly larger, longer, and more dangerous. You know, I mean, you weren't having 4-mile-long trains in '89, right?
That is correct. We were limited to 150 cars, and the trains that were 150 cars long, you know, was not an often, you know, occurrence. A coal train back when I started out was 90 car lengths long. Now it's 147.
Wow.
Incredible tonnages.
So, is there any point in your mind that sticks out over, you know, since '89, where something happened and you were like, "Oh wow, things are really changing for the worse here"?
We had and I'm going to say this is 10, 15 years ago, things really started to change. When I went to work, and I work on Norfolk Southern, everything was geared to moving freight. We were a transportation company. And then we became worried about winning this Harriman Award, which is a safety award. And I'll always remember a superintendent of Inman Yard telling us one day he didn't care if we moved one box car as long as nobody got hurt. And so that was the antithesis of how it was when I first came to work. But there, over the years, and particularly in the last 15, I'm going to say, there's been an anti-labor, almost a hatred by management for us. I don't know why. We're the guys that earn the freight. We're a pittance in costs compared to the profits, the record profits these guys have made, even through the Great Recession and such. And it's been record profits quarter after quarter up till now. And yet we're the enemy. And I don't know why. You would think as you go to fewer and fewer people trying to move more and more freight, you would want to treat those people well. But that's, you know, there's some business philosophy that we're just going to grind everybody, you know, to dust in making profits for our shareholders. And that's not a good long-term strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely not. And I don't understand. Well, you know, I don't understand I can understand the bosses seeing that, because I think that bosses are, you know, it's funny. I was watching this conservative talk radio program at one point, and they were going on about how humble Eric Trump is, unlike all the other small business people who like to fly first class or whatever. But you know, Trump was flying business class. Eric Trump was. Isn't he so down to earth? And you know, I think that really encapsulates there is something that I think poisons your mind when you get into these, you know, business type environments, that poisons your mind, makes you think that you're better than other people. But what I don't understand is that other folks fall for it, right? We've got people, you know, we just played last week on the show, Ben Shapiro saying that y'all got the whole store in this tentative agreement. That
Oh my God, what a joke.
Yeah. It's a joke, and he was saying that, wow, they got the whole score. They got the whole store, and there are people that believe that. There are people that listen to him that think, wow, yeah, the rail workers, they're spoiled and they're entitled, and they don't deserve what they get, and just normal working people believe. And I don't understand it. I can't understand that mindset of other people. I can understand it from bosses because it's in their interest, but I can't understand it from other people.
Well, and the other people are working 5 days a week. They have a weekend, and they're perfectly happy in their little pathetic lives. And because they don't know, the whole story about the railroad. In a 24/7 environment, when you're on call 24/7, as I am with 35 years seniority, I'm 34 years seniority. I'm waiting on a call right now to go to work, and I'll be up tonight. I'll take an unknown amount of rest in Chattanooga, and then I'll have to come back and do it again. And I'm doing it on the weekends. I'm doing it on Thanksgiving Day. And above all, I'm doing it often at nighttime, which I can't stand. But that's what you're paying for, except you're not really paying anything, And you don't have to believe me. Let's just watch if this agreement passes or gets imposed on us. Let's just see how many people leave the industry thereafter. I think there's a lot of people waiting on a back pay check, and then they're out of here. Particularly the younger people.
Well, so, you went into it some there with the, you're on call right now. Right now, if you get a call, you've got to say, Jake, I've got to go. I got to get on the railroads. That's what we initially had you scheduled for 10:15, and we were like, well, we'll go ahead and bring him in first because he's on call and he might have to leave, and maybe he's going to be gone by 10:15. And you were on call yesterday, and you and then you have been on call since, I believe, 5 a.m. this morning, and you were on the road late last night, and then you're going to be, like you said, on the road tonight, and it's just, and you're on call Thanksgiving and all these holidays. Talk to us some more about what it's been like these last several years when you had to go to the doctor, if you wanted to be with your family, stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm at the high end of the seniority roster, and so I can manipulate. I have to bid in a job every single week, and because I have the seniority, I can bid from one job to other. That's what I did last week. I was actually on a road switcher with a schedule yesterday. I got off at 8 o'clock last night. I went to a pool job at 12 o'clock a.m. I was rested at 7 a.m. and I'm either first or second out right now, waiting on a call. But I can manipulate that bidding system to get off days when I need them for doctor's appointment. But anybody below me, if you go just a little bit below me, they don't have that luxury. They don't stand to move around like I do. So for most people, they're stuck on their job, and you can't. Okay, we have personal leave days. These guys got paid personal leave days. These are days that we're given in lieu of holiday. We don't get holiday pay. If I come to work on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day or July 4th, I don't get extra money for that. There's no holiday pay. Now in the yard, they get holiday pay. So in lieu of that, I have 13 personal leave days that I'm supposed to be able to take when I want to take them. What really happens is I have to put in a request 48 hours at least in advance to be off, and then somebody has to approve that. And it's often not approved. They look at their slots, if you will, and say, somebody else is going to be off. We're not going to let Hugh Sawyer off. And so, and often they don't respond. Even when you put in these requests months in advance, they don't respond months in advance. It's a last second thing, and you got to call people up and try to get an approval. And it's just driving everybody's insane.
Right.
Particularly the young married.
Last week the TA was out, but nobody had seen the language yet. We had seen some press releases from some of the unions, from Biden saying that, look at how great this is, from Ben Shapiro saying that you got the whole store right, but nobody had seen the actual language, the contract language, and it's out now. Now people have seen it. Hugh, what is actually in the agreement? How does it comport to what we were told last week in generalities? And what are some things that stick out to you?
Well, all the rumors that we heard, I think, from my standpoint, have come true. And I don't think Ben Shapiro knows how to read, because he obviously did not read the Presidential Emergency Board paper. If he had, he'd know we didn't get the whole enchilada, so to speak. If you'll remember, I think the unions, the rank and file were really pushing the unions on scheduled off days and such. And we have allegedly made progress in that. In this agreement, they're going to assign everybody, poolmen, extra boards, everybody are going to be assigned off days. Okay. Locally, I already have that. And the way that works is, okay, I'm going to be off Tuesday and Wednesday of this upcoming week on the pool job they gave me. Those are assigned off days. And the reality is I'm going to go out Saturday, come back Sunday, go out Monday, probably Monday evening, and come back either Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Wednesday morning. I'll be back. And that's my second off day. And so I can't sit there and say, hey, I'm off Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to schedule things for that. I have to sit there and say, no, I may not be back. Now, they'll give me 48 hours off once I get back, but those weren't scheduled, right? So, but I will say that younger guys, the extra boards and what have you, who had no scheduled off days are thrilled with the thought of getting them. But there was, the holdup was allegedly over 6 days. There are no sick days in this agreement that I have found. If I'm on a board that has no scheduled off days, and keep in mind, this agreement establishes that essentially everybody will be on some sort of board with so-called off days, assigned off days. But if there is a board that doesn't have assigned off days, if they make a doctor's appointment 30 days or more in advance on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, the carriers, as I understand it, will be obligated to let you off for that and have you in place to be off for that. For 3 incidences, up to 3 incidences a year is how they put it. Well, that's not a sick day. Right. We have addressed nothing about when I mark off sick on the weekend and I go to the urgent care and I'm sick, I've got the flu. If I'm off in 90 days, if I'm off more than one weekend day, that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I'm off for more than one calendar day, I will be put into the attendance program at Norfolk Southern. And they literally tell you, we don't care that you have a doctor's note, that you actually went to the doctor, you actually had the flu. We don't care. That's insanity. Mm-hmm. And we have not addressed that. There are no sick days in this agreement, and no way for me to do anything but call down there and say I'm sick and then deal with the consequences after the fact. If I'm hospitalized now in this agreement, if I'm hospitalized or admitted to a hospital, then yeah, they won't count that against me. But who gets hospitalized for the flu or for COVID for that matter?
Yeah, wow. So if you're having a heart attack, maybe they won't discipline you if you're nice.
That is correct.
that's just so crazy. That's so far from what's right. And I think what most people, from what most people would expect rail workers to get, and from what most people expect from their employer, it's difficult to, it's difficult to really fathom. And the doctor's appointment stuff, I understand that has to be on doesn't it have to be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and it has to be scheduled 30 days in advance? Isn't it something like there's several hoops that you have to jump through to be able to use these days?
At least 30 days in advance, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, as long as those aren't holidays, as long as a holiday doesn't fall on that. So in reality, it's not solving the problem for most people. And I just told you how I had doctor's appointments earlier this week, and I was able to manipulate the system to create off days for myself, but most people cannot do that. So, and I don't think the number one thing here that has upset the workers, I don't know if the unions really got a handle of this or not, is the way we're treated. That above all issues, which is not addressed. And now we're going and scheduling. Now we're going to self-sustaining pools. That's where the pools protect themselves. When I mark off on my pool job right now, they have an extra board engineer that will fill it. They'll send that job out and with an extra board engineer, which is what the extra board exists for, by the way. When the regular man marks off, that guy, there's somebody in place to take my place. That's eliminated. My job will just go to the bottom of that pool, and the next guy who was second out will now be first out. If you have 3 or 4 people, if you're 8 times out and you have 3 or 4 people that mark off for whatever reasons, all of a sudden you think you're 8 times out. Hey, I might have time to go to the grocery store or do this or that. Oops, now you're first out and getting called. And the people that have these chain gangs, that's what they're called in railroad slang. The people that are subjected to them right now are adamant that you do not want this. And that's fine. That's subject that's subject to on-property negotiation, but they can do it. And we've agreed to go quickly to binding arbitration if the general committees can't reach an agreement with the carriers.
So how do you think that workers are responding to this? What is your what's your feel of the pulse among the membership? Do you think that they'll vote this down?
I'm surprised. Yeah, there's a lot of anger out there, but and keep in mind the union leadership's going to be out there pushing this agreement, saying this is the best you're going to get, guys. And sadly, it might be right because when by the time we vote on this, which I think the vote will be in by November 15th, after the midterm elections, after at least in the BLE, the national leadership elections, there'll be a vote. If we vote no, okay, then we can go potentially go on strike. But who's going to negotiate a better agreement? Congress will step in, and typically they impose the Presidential Emergency Board recommendations. And I want to remind everybody that on January 2nd, current wisdom is that the Republicans are going to take the House back. So do you want them imposed? They might impose the carrier's desires for all, we know. And so that's the thing. Yeah, there's a lot of anger out there, and I think there's a lot of people planning on voting no. We'll just have to see. But for the next 2 months, we're going to be subjected to, you better vote for this. The fear factor. Right. You got a bird in hand versus what, if you vote no. So it's I'm supposed to say everybody's fired up, and they are. They're very angry over this agreement. They can't believe that nothing that we were angry, the rank and file were angry about, has really been addressed in here. And but they're going to be worked over for at least 2 months to vote for this thing. So we'll see.
As they're being worked over, presumably by people in the bargaining committee. I did see that there was one. I think it was the Machinists had mentioned in their release that two of the bargaining committee members voted against recommending it to the membership. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. But as people are trying to cajole them to vote yes, is Railroad Workers United is there going to be an official vote no campaign from Railroad Workers United or this other group that's emerged, Rail Labor Unite, who did some informational picketing last week?
I think so. All indications are that we are going to launch a vote no campaign. We've been waiting on a tentative agreement, which just fallen into our hands and everybody's hands. And we're not going to wait on the Q&A. What's the point of waiting on the question and answer part of it done by General Chairman and the National? We're weighing the consensus out there, and then we're going to support the rank and file workers and their decision, which I think right now, I have to say, the sentiment out there is vote no.
Well, Hugh, I hope you'll keep us in the loop. I hope you keep us up to date. It was great talking to you. Appreciate your time while you're on call over there in Georgia. Thank you very much. Keep up the fight, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, Jacob. Thanks for having me on.
All right, brother.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.